other memories of my buddy John Jay, another older gentleman, which I actually have to thank for so much. He's why I'm a mermaid, and he has helped my breath holds, and he's a very interesting character, let's just say that, okay? I mean, there's a lot of different levels, but there's one particular thing that I really want to bring up. So, I may have even mentioned this in the past. However, it's floating to the surface of my mind right now of a period of my life. So, I dated this man, Michael Mayhew, for like 3 years. And we end up breaking up. And actually, a lot of that has to do with the fact of Sky Captain. Literally, Sky Captain lived in Boca Raton, and I'm in Lake Worthless. And that's like a 30-40 minute ride, right? And Sky Captain would come and pick me up every single freaking day. So, of course, my boyfriend would think that I'm having some kind of relationship with this older man. And Michael was older than me, right? So, me and Sky, we definitely loved each other. There was definitely a lot of love there. However, I never saw Sky Captain that way of marrying him. However, I did love how he treated me. And, so, Michael's trying to get back with me at one point. I'm working, I'm trying to remember all the details here. I'm working an event at Capone's nightclub for V-Love, another awesome older gentleman who I met when I was really young. I'll go into him a little bit later. So, I'm working an event, that event, at Capone's, and it's my fish tank event, so of course I'm hiring John Jay to come be with me and help set up the tank, because that's what he did for a living. He managed aquariums. That's also something else that's awesome. I used to help him scrub fish tanks, and I loved it. And, so, me and John Jay are doing this gig, and then, as soon as we get there, we're about to unload the tank, and I start freaking out. And I tell him over and over again, John Jay, something's not right. Something's not right. Something's not right. Something's not right. And he wouldn't believe me. And then he started to try to comfort me, and he, like, was rubbing my shoulders and, like, touching my belly, basically, like, on my side. And, like, he meant no harm. However, I told him a couple times to stop, because, you know, I'm an empath, so when he touched me, I'm channeling his energy instead, and I was trying to focus in and zone in on what this information was, and I'm just, like, basically hyperventilating or whatever, and I'm freaking out, and I end up getting physical with him, and I take my elbow, and I elbow him in the gut to stop. And, you know, he has autism, and he panics, like, he, you know, arms up in the air and everything, and, like, leaves the club, basically, okay? And I feel bad for that sometimes, because I should have maybe controlled myself, or maybe he should have listened. And then there's this asshole, she's a famous mermaid, okay, Raina goes on all the freaking forums and starts telling people that I'm saying that John Jay sexually harassed me, which was a complete lie. And even John Jay was like, WTF, you know? So John Jay was kind of mad at me for a while after that. Yet, you want to know what? I was right. And I'm going to try to remember that for the rest of my life, so I never doubt my intuition. Turns out Michael Mayhew was working on his car, and his radiator blew up in his freaking face and burned him. It burned him so bad. Like, he had third-degree burns and had to have skin grafts and all this stuff for months and months and months. And I just knew. Something inside me just knew something wasn't right. So now I want to go back to Capone's. B-Love, man. Yo, B-Love is quite the man. Okay, he's lived such a crazy life. He's given so much to the community. He's someone I have great appreciation for. Now, the story of B-Love is I'm running a possum rescue, Possums for Pets Not Stew. I'm dating this guy, Raymond Masson. Literally the same last name as me, with just like an E at the end. Italian Jewish man, super tall, and he goes to this dentist, Spodak, I'm pretty sure it's called, something like that, in Delray. And I'm sitting in the office waiting for Raymond while he's doing, he's seeing the dentist. And there's this man in the lobby yakking on his telephone, basically hyping up himself, talking about how he just did a music video with 50 Cent and how he's doing all this stuff. And then he's talking about randomly how he's going to open up a nightclub and he's going to put scorpions in the table. And then black lights, you guys. Scorpions light up when you do that. So as soon as he's off the telephone, I call him out. I'm like, yo, you can't do that. You can't do that. You're going to kill all the scorpions. And then, I have a possum in my bra at the time, by the way. I had always put possums in my bra because it works as a pouch and it keeps them right by your heartbeat so that they're mammals, man. They stay warm in there. It was just perfect. I was hiding it inside the dentist's office, all right? I brought a possum to the dentist's office, all right? It was a baby. It was Runt, actually. This possum, Runt, who was severely injured. His guts were hanging out and his leg was dragging behind him, and I caked that thing with Neosporin, and I brought that boy back to life. I tell you what, that possum, he was the strongest, most sexually aggressive male possum I had ever had in my life. He was a bully. He would pick on Templeton so badly. So badly. He was so mean. He's a turd. Now the story of Runt is actually a little sad now I think about that too, man. I gave Runt to Raymond, and Raymond couldn't, after we broke up, and Raymond couldn't handle the possum and basically set him free or something like that. So, that's upsetting. God only knows what happened to that possum. Poor fucking Runt. I loved Runt, Yet, Raymond helped me with the Possum Foundation big time. He used to work at a veterinarian service, and he knew a lot about animals, and he's part of the inspiration for how Possums for Pets Not Stew even came to life and why I took it so serious. I remember I was basically living with him and his mom at one point, and that's when I came up with Possums for Pets Not Stew. And he used to help me a lot raise possums and things like that. So, bottom line, I whip out a possum, I show it to B-Love. It's basically my evidence that I really know a lot about animals, and I worked in an exotic pet shop for a while. And that's actually how I got involved with possums, you guys. That's another great story. Oh man, I have stories for life. Stories for life. So remember I was telling you the story about John Beaver, the guy that I dated that was a wrestler, and then he's why I pursued professional wrestling, because we went to wrestling school together and all that good stuff. My first time in the ring. And John Beaver and I went to an exotic pet shop, and I stopped in there, and I think it was our second time, I decided to bitch to the guy with the mohawk, which is funny because John Beaver and I both had mohawks, and that's how we met, actually, on 4th of July, and we wrestled on 4th of July in the mud and stuff. I'm pretty sure I told that story already. If not, I'll have to tell you that story. That's pretty great story. So, I decide I'm going to complain, and I make a complaint, and I say, where's the mammals in this exotic pet shop? Because it was all reptiles, and I love reptiles and all, yet I wanted to see monkeys and lemurs and kinkajous and just something, a mammal, So the guy, Sean Reiser, cool as shit dude, which I'm still friends with today, he goes into the back of the shop, whips out a red duffel bag, puts the red duffel bag on the counter, and on the counter is a freaking possum named Trixie. And Trixie starts licking my hand like crazy, and it's the sweetest thing ever. So, little did I know, my 16-year-old self, the owner, Herbert, is there. Okay? And Herbert had a crush on me. And Herbert, his shop was right next to a place called Strictly's? I want to say it's called Strictly's. And Strictly's was a place that strictly only people who owned exotic pet trade businesses could go there. And you could buy animals wholesale. So he buys a possum and puts it in his shop, okay? This is behind the scenes stuff that I didn't know till later along the line, okay, by the way. So I go in another day you know, I become obsessed with this pet shop. So what I did was I was on MySpace at the time. I go in and I meet this baby possum and I go freaking crazy because I've never seen a baby possum in my life, okay? I actually have a picture of a run-over possum, which is the first possum I ever saw before I met Trixie, by the way. I still have that to this day, which is really funny connecting the dots backwards. And so I get this possum. I decide I want to name him Templeton. I beg my dad like crazy, okay? I'm 16 years old. I want to bring home a freaking possum. And it's like $300 for the possum, okay? And, you know, I didn't have the money. So I came up with a genius plan that my dad agreed to. I said I was going to work at the exotic pet shop, clean cages, clean up freaking animal poo, and feed the snakes rats and stuff, which I had a skull crack, by the way. That was my job. And I also made them a MySpace. I made them a MySpace and I earned off my possum, okay? Now, little did I know having this possum would completely change my life. Changed my life. So I would take my possum everywhere, okay? And then one day when he's big, actually, some lady stops me on the street, calls Florida Fish and Wildlife on the spot, and turns out I'm supposed to have a permit. And I guess this pet shop, you know, they didn't take care of that. Which is funny because if you buy from Underground Reptiles, when you pay the $300, they take care of all your paperwork for you. It's a Class 3 permit. It's really easy to get, okay? I mean, it's a little difficult because you have to know about certain questions, and some of them are just kind of nonsense, like the weight of sexual maturity and stuff like that, like or something bizarre, okay? So I don't have a permit. Guy at Florida Fish and Wildlife tells me, listen, go home, take your possum home, get your permit. It was that simple. And then basically from taking my possum out, I learned how uneducated people are about possums. I learned that in Trinidad, they eat them with sweet potatoes, and there's even a special name for the possum. I completely forgot what it is. Now, I also met people who told me they would purposely hit the possums on the side of the road and how it was like a game. And I've heard people riding their motorcycles and they purposely kick them. And after they met my possum Templeton, they told me they would never do that again. Templeton was a good boy, man. I could stick my hand in his mouth and he'd do this thing like a dog, how they shake. I know you can't see. Yeah, it's like he would never bite. He was such a good boy. Now, I will tell the truth that my possum had bit me on the arm before when he thought he was about to fall. Like their jaw, it has a locking ability. So I've been bit before. It wasn't that big of a deal. Possums do have rumors to have like really dirty mouths and stuff like that. However, I never dealt with any infections. Nothing bad with possums. I've been dealing with possums since I was 16 years old, and it's gonna be officially 10 years next year, right? Or technically this year, actually. So that is awesome. Awesome possum. And you know, when I was younger, I actually made money off my possums. People would randomly give me donations for no reason, basically just for letting them meet and pet my possum. And that was cool because that would buy my possum food, you know, cat food, kitty litter. Learning the first basics of kind of taking care of something else, you know. It was quite a learning experience. And it was most pleasurable. And I actually met some homeless people. There was one homeless man I remember really well who told me he was a paralegal, or he was going to become paralegal. It might have been a bunch of bullshit, you know. I swear to God, I let so many homeless people live inside my house. In my house that went in foreclosure. And my dad allowed that shit. Which is crazy. My dad put up with so much shit. My dad is such a good man. I would love to discuss those things with my dad when I see him and see what he says. He's going to talk so much shit. I can already hear it. He's going to give me shit. I destroyed that house when it went to foreclosure. I spray painted it. I treated it really badly, to be honest. And I have so many memories of that house. I would love to share with you those memories as well. Well, I'm home now. I'm done with my story time for the time being. Until next time. I love you. Love yourself like I do. Take care.